as you pointed out, hard to tell whether he was an independent or
but you
Democrat. He just didn't count with them for caucuses. So this is not a direct pickup.
Okay, Andrea, thanks. Let's go to Chuck Todd. Chuck, what do you like right now?
I wanted to go to a rock map for you. What you were doing in all of these too close to call states, as you just pointed out. Boy, let me just show you. David told you the power of Florida. Based on some things that we think could go the president's way, if everything goes, you see that would do it. And that would you wouldn't need any of these other swing states here. Wouldn't need Ohio. Wouldn't need Iowa, Wisconsin, New Hampshire, Colorado, Virginia. That's how powerful the state of Florida is as an electoral battleground there. But let's keep that. Let's put that back in our unassigned if that was the case. And we have all those other projections. If you put Virginia there, well, then suddenly it only takes an Ohio to put them over. At this point, that if you had those two combinations that somehow came in, you would have it pretty quickly, and you would see a change in mood very fast, if you will, in Boston. So that's why, as you pointed out very well, Brian, there is sort of pins and needles in Boston because these states haven't been called. And when you look at Virginia, by the way, the raw vote that's in, I know a lot of people are probably wondering why, Romney's got this big lead. What's in? Well, let me just show you what is in and what isn't in. For instance, a lot of this is coming from the rural areas. I told you earlier about Fairfax County. Fairfax County, a place where Barack Obama got over 100,000 votes on. We've only got basically 2 precincts, if at all, reporting out of Fairfax. So that's why we are a long way away from projecting Virginia, but also why it's very possible you could see the president pick up a lot of ground once Northern Virginia starts reporting.
Okay, wait, I'm almost done.
It has changed so much. People in Fauquier County would never be considered Washington commuters decades ago. Now that whole region really is part of the bowl of D.C.
Well, the big joke, this, Brian, when you were a resident down there, the welcome sign to Virginia, the welcome center in Virginia, when you go on old I-66, you got to go to Manassas. That's 35 miles of Virginia. The rest of old Virginia, if you will, they didn't bother Northern Virginia getting to a welcome center. It's in Manassas. Very little city about Manassas. That's a county. Prince William County. That's a county that President Obama carried 4 years ago. So Northern Virginia basically is growing into a mega state that may make it very hard for Democrats to overcome in these for Republicans to overcome this advantage in Northern Virginia going forward for they're going to have to do something to change the math there if this is what happens to the state of Virginia.
All right, we love geeking out with Chuck Todd. Chuck, thanks. And over to Lester Holt. Lester is looking at both gubernatorial races and any irregularities at the polls. And Lester, we're counting on you all night. I know you're working with Pete Williams and his team in Washington. You have an item out of Virginia, correct?
Yeah, the item is what's still going on there, and that is that people are still voting. Polls closed at 7 o'clock. That's over an hour and a half ago. There were long lines. We're told statewide from Northern Virginia to the south to the coast, people in line at 7 o'clock who rightfully are still being allowed to vote. At one point, there was some confusion even as to whether to release the results. The state decided to hold off, but it appears some of the counties were independently releasing votes. So the state is continuing to release that information. An official says it's been an error-free day there. He says the biggest issue has been long lines, and, quote, we love lines. That's the word from Virginia. They're still voting, right?
All right, Lester, please stay on for us. Thanks. We're joined by Republican Senator Kelly Ayotte of New Hampshire. And Senator, I guess the first question at this hour, what are you hearing from home base, the Romney campaign?
What I'm hearing is, for example, I've been focusing on New Hampshire. Great turnout in New Hampshire. Many Republican areas, Londonderry, Derry, Merrimack, Bedford. We're seeing a great turnout. Last night, a great rally in New Hampshire. So that's where my focus has been, Brian, and I think it's a really close race here.
And you have the possibility up there of joining, I guess it's Washington State, and having all female elected representatives.
That is a possibility tonight, Brian, and we'll see what happens at the end of the night. I think there'll be some very close races here. But, we've always had a tradition of a lot of women running for office in New Hampshire. And, we're the only delegation on the Senate end that's bipartisan women representing the Senate. It's the first time in the history of our country here in New Hampshire.
Senator, if Mitt Romney is victorious tonight, becomes the 45th president of the United States, what kind of Republican Party would you like going forward?
I certainly would like a Republican Party that's focused on getting our fiscal house in order. really addressing the debt, and then creating the best climate for job creation in the world here in America. And I think those are the priorities of Governor Romney and Paul Ryan. That's why I got in very early, even in the New Hampshire primary, Brian, for Governor Romney, because I knew that would be his priority, and I think he has the right skill set to make that happen for our country.
Do you think your 4 electoral votes are among the most expensive and fought over in all of the country?
I do. New Hampshire is very important tonight, just as we are in the first in the nation primary. Voters here take very seriously their civic responsibility, so I know they're looking close. They look closely at both of the candidates. And so, yes, a lot of money has been spent in New Hampshire, and New Hampshire appreciates all the time that both candidates spent here.
Senator Kelly Ayotte, thank you very much for being with us tonight from New Hampshire, where again a bunch of states are going through a long night. David Gregory, I keep saying we're not being coy. We're not in receipt of any information that we're trying to hint about. All we're saying is, if you're in the Romney organization, you would probably like some of these battlegrounds to have closed by now or very soon.
Right, we're just watching this raw vote come in, and we understand in these states, as Chuck has been explaining, as that comes in, the percentages change. We don't know the outcome. But I look at the white down there on the rink, and I look at Florida, I look at North Carolina, I look at Virginia. If Mitt Romney's going to have a big night, he wants that to get filled in red sooner rather than later. The tighter it is, the more opportunity for the president to eke it out, and it just means that the role for Romney is to play offense. It means he's not playing that enough, so we'll see.
Savannah.
I'm just thinking about the swing states and what different election those voters there had. I mean, when you live in a state that is not a swing state, you really don't have the experience that they had if you live in Ohio, Virginia, Florida. They are under a barrage of ads from each side, also from the independent groups who have flooded the airwaves. I have a figure here that in the swing states, 71% of voters that they had personally been contacted by one of the campaigns. And this actually speaks to one of the things that the president's campaign talks a lot about, their ground game. They have supreme confidence in their ground game. I mean, it's the best ground game that American politics has ever seen. And so they are counting on the fact that they've been able to turn out those voters in huge numbers, and that will make up with any deficit they may have with independent voters.
The luckiest people this election cycle may be the owners of local television stations in battleground states, because of the money being spent. There was a trade journal in our business talking about all the data centers and not the